All right. Hello and welcome back. We are here with Victoria today. Victoria and I we were connected a while back and we were part of a mastermind together. And I'm really excited because Victoria knows so much about the subconscious mind. I'm actually learning about NLP now. So I'm really excited to bring Victoria here onto the podcast to talk to you guys today. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Victoria, and I'm a mindset and subconscious breakthrough coach specifically for business owners who are plateaued in their income for 3 or more months. And I help them get to the root of their subconscious blocks that are preventing them from bringing in the money in their business that they want. And so I've been doing that for like the last 2 years. Prior to that, I know we talked about this offline a little bit. I actually have a background in finance. That's what I studied. So I used to be doing money work more related to the tactical 3D areas of it. And then since then have moved into the more mindset and energetic side. So that's what I've been working on as of recently.
Yeah, I actually remember back 2 years ago when we first got connected, you had mentioned this really awesome book, and I listened to it. It was a while ago when I listened to it, called the Big Leap,
Hmm.
and I want to know what you kind of took from that book because you had so much to say about it back then, and I feel like it's really relevant in terms of like how our subconscious works and how like we might start to I don't know if it's block necessarily, but like we kind of find one area of our life where we like really want to focus on and really need to work. And for a lot of people that's money, but let's just dive a little bit more into that so that you can kind of like expand on it a little bit and talk about how we can use our subconscious mind to work with us.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with the book, The Big Leap, it is by the author Gay Hendricks, and it has a little fish on the front jumping from one fish tank to the other. So highly recommend the book. And the concept of the book is that Gay Hendricks, the author, has coined this term called the upper limit problem. Now, the upper limit problem states that every single person, everyone, has an upper limit. So think a glass ceiling, some sort of threshold for the amount of success, abundance, creativity, flow, etc., that they will allow themselves to experience in their life. And this is all happening on a subconscious level. So, meaning no one is consciously saying, oh, I only allow myself to have this much fun, or I only allow myself to make this much money. But that is what's happening on a subconscious level. Think about a thermostat, right? If you go in your house and you want to set your thermostat to 72 degrees, you're going to hit the button, but what happens is the the systems are going to pump air out and it fluctuates, and if it gets really hot, then it'll pump cool air to bring it back down to 72. If it's below 72, it's going to pump hot air out to bring it back up, right? So you're fluctuating, but you're trying to get back to the number that you set it for. And so, what the upper limit problem is saying is that we each have an internal thermostat for all of that success in different areas of our lives that we allow ourselves to experience on a subconscious level. Now, that is usually set based on your life experiences and your quote unquote programming from the ages generally of 0 to 7. Um, and if you ever go above that, you will self sabotage and bring yourself back down to that level, or you just won't even ever allow yourself to get above that level. So I know I talked a lot of maybe some big confusing words. So let's talk about it on a more tactical level so that maybe you can experience this or see how this shows up in your life. This is what I see a lot with my clients, right? One really prime example, the business owners I work with, like let's say you consistently make a certain amount of money each month. Let's just say it is $5,000 a month. And then one month something, but you really want more money than that, right? Let's say
Mhm.
1 month after your consistent $5,000 months, you actually make $10,000. Wow, that's so amazing, right? But you don't realize that your unconscious upper limit is actually at the 5,000. So even though you have manifested $10,000, what happens after that usually is you will find some sort of way to self-sabotage and bring yourself back down to that level. So what that could look like is you make $10,000, but then all of a sudden you have a car expense that you need to address, or someone asks for a refund, or you blow it all on something that you don't end up even really caring about, and you sabotage yourself back down, in this case, to the financial level that you were at. Whether that's comfortable or not, you could be like, oh, it's not comfortable to barely be making my bills, but that is subconsciously where you have set yourself up. And so what Gay Hendricks talks about is we have this internal threshold, and until we address the subconscious programming that is causing our threshold to be at $5,000 a month and literally move it up to whatever you want it to be, whether that's 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 1 million, etc., you will never allow yourself to manifest and maintain that new level of wealth because you are set on the wrong thermostat level.
Yes, I love it. It's very broken down, very tactical the way you talk about it. One question that I have while you're talking about this is like, okay, we know that, you know, those occasional months will come in that it's like 10,000, right? And then just like you were saying, if you don't fix the programming, it'll bring you right back down to that 5. So what are some of the exercises, or what are some of the things that you typically would walk your clients through to have them have those consistent 10K months instead of bringing that back down? What subconscious rewiring do you need to work on?
Yeah, this is a great question. So the first thing is you're going to want to realize where your thermostat setting is. So for some
Mhm.
people, it might be like, oh, yeah, I realize that I'm only making a certain amount of money per month. Another way to look at it could be debt numbers or even your savings account. So maybe your savings account always hovers around $10,000, right? Despite how much you make. Like, see where you have been stuck in a plateau despite all of your efforts, what those numbers are, and that will show you like energetically where your income plateau and threshold, upper limit, whatever you want to call it, is. So once you can
Mhm.
identify that, right, we have to understand why your threshold is there. It's not, I think the common mistake people make in the mindset and manifestation world is they just think, let me just think these positive thoughts. Let me just program my mind for $10,000 months when I'm at 5,000, and I'm just going to magically manifest the $10,000 months. And it doesn't, in my experience, work that way. We have to figure out why you have your settings set at $5,000 per month. So you have to understand that it's your subconscious beliefs around money, success, visibility, in the sense of making money in an online business, at least, that is causing you to manifest that certain amount of money per month, period. Right. And it's doing so because your subconscious is trying to keep you safe. Believe it or not, your subconscious mind and your nervous system thinks making more money is unsafe. And I know you might be listening to that, and you might be in a situation where you're barely covering your bills or you're not covering your bills and you're in debt and you're like, Victoria, how can you, in your right mind, sit there and tell me making more money is unsafe? I can't even pay for food right now. How could it be making more money would be the best thing that could happen to me? It would make me more safe. And I hear you. Let's just keep an open mind, right? Because that is your conscious intellectual mind going. And I agree with you. Objectively speaking, making more money is more safe in a lot of ways to your conscious mind. But we're again remembering we're talking about the subconscious mind. And there's something about making more money to your subconscious and to your nervous system that it feels unsafe. So I'll give an example because it's going to be different for everyone. But let's say, for example, you right now are barely covering the bills, and you are someone who your people, your community that you spend a lot of time with are also in a similar financial situation. Maybe they don't really like their jobs, they complain about it a lot. You guys talk about how much you don't like work, and you're all like in a similar financial situation. Well, subconsciously, you you may believe that if you start to make either A, more money, and or B, you make a lot of money in a way that you enjoy, right? That's going to put you in a different category from your friends and from your community or from your family, right? And so subconsciously, what your subconscious mind is going to think is, oh my gosh, well, if Victoria starts making $10,000 months, but all of her friends are between 2 and 5, then she may not be able to relate to them and their problems anymore because now she doesn't have to complain about money anymore, or she's actually doing work that she enjoys. And your subconscious might link the fact that you are now kind of almost othering yourself from your friends as danger because it's like, oh, well, if she can't relate to it, them, then they're not going to be friends anymore. She's going to get kicked out of the tribe, right? And why your subconscious mind thinks something like that is dangerous is because your subconscious is like that primitive part of your mind, right? So think back in the day when you were hunter and gathering with people, if you were kicked out of your tribe, it usually was a matter of life or death, right? Like you would have no one to hunt or gather with. A saber-toothed tiger could come and eat you, and likely being out of your tribe does mean death. And your subconscious mind is literally linking the same level of fear around survival with you making more money than your peers. That's just one example. Another example could be if you grew up hearing, you know, but people with money are evil and greedy, then you're not going to want to be perceived as evil and greedy. So you'll keep yourself small so that you don't make more money because you don't want to be perceived as evil and greedy, even though right now making more money, again, seems like it would solve all your problems. So that's the long-winded answer, but that's the truth. There's no just, okay, let's program the $10,000 and raise it. Really, to raise it, it comes down to we have to get so clear on what your unique subconscious programming is around money and success and abundance. Figure out where there's that, like, oh, I didn't even realize I have these limiting beliefs around money. Remove those from your subconscious. And once you do that, then you can clear the way to create some new programming around making $10,000 is safe, because you and I objectively know that's true. But until we get to the core of the issue of why you've even set your settings at $5,000, we can't move you to 10,000.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, you put it so perfectly, and I love that you touch on the point of safety here because I started a new TikTok account and everything. I've put up plenty of videos, and a lot of the videos that get a lot of traction are the videos about making money versus managing money. And it is two different things. And it's like you said, making more money sounds great and it makes complete conscious sense and a logical sense as to why you would want to make more money. But the reason why managing money is so important is because you have to, it's like those behaviors. Our behaviors are like how we are and how we act subconsciously without even realizing it. And when we start to learn what our behaviors are, then we can start to learn, oh, well, I'm spending on this, or oh, well, I see that, just like you said, you're identifying those areas that you're like, okay, this is how I'm bringing myself back down to that particular baseline level of whatever finances that I'm always experiencing. So I really love that you bring that in. And there was another mentor of mine who was talking with me the other day, specifically around this topic, because the way that she talks about it is that you have to create a safe space for money to come in and exist. It's not going to come like you might make that $10,000, right? But if you don't have a safe space, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's just you're gonna go right back to where you are because that is how you are programmed. And I also really love how you highlight the tribe because that is basically like how we think. We're very tribal people. That's just like you said, how we would have life or death back then when we were all first starting out. And even though now, like I keep referring to my Taylor Swift era, right? Like just who gives a shit? Like just flip them the bird, do the opposite of what they say. But our brains aren't programmed that way. And it's hard for us to find the time and find this space for us to be able to sit there and be like, no, it's okay if we don't do what other people do. It's okay if I go the opposite way. It's okay if I do this because that'll bring in more opportunity. So I just love how you brought like all of that in just now. Trust me, long-winded, I love it. We need it. It's necessary sometimes. So one thing that I want to ask you is just like because you come from that tactical strategic finance background, like what is the biggest, I don't know that necessarily like difference, maybe difference and similarity between going from that tactical area to more of the mindset, more of the subconscious area with money. What do you see as like the biggest difference and then the biggest similarity here?
It's a really good question. I think they're they are both required, and very few people realize that to have ultimate success with money, you need both. A lot of times, if you talk to people on the strategic front, they pretty much pay no attention to the mindset side of things, right? It's very like tactical and don't buy lattes and put the savings in and whatever else. And then there's also people on the other end of the spectrum who are like, just think about the money you want and it's magically going to manifest, when in reality it 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 really needs both, right? From what you were saying, you can't successfully manage money as well as you possibly could have if you have these underlying subconscious blocks around money where you will sabotage yourself and overspend or make poor financial decisions for you, right? And then so the mindset side and at the same time for the manifestation people, they think all of it is just around magically manifesting it without realizing that one of the biggest blocks people have around money without realizing it from an energetic perspective is like if they have fears around the strategic side of money. So for example, they don't know how to manage money tactically, like they don't really know much about a savings account or a checking account or taxes freak them out. They will actually block the flow of money manifesting into their reality because subconsciously it's like, well, I don't want to have to deal with taxes. And if I make more money, I have to deal with more taxes and more problems. So I'm just going to block it. So they really do complement each other really, really well. But I don't always know if the two worlds really oversect and come together all too often. That
Yeah.
didn't
It's
directly answer
funny.
your question, but yeah.
No, but it's funny that you bring that up because a lot of what I've been hearing when I talk with other people online is that there's so much focus now around the mindset part of things and the spirituality part of things, and there really is no tactical understanding or strategic understanding of things, and a lot of people have been saying the same thing, like they both play hand in hand, they kind of go together, and they more or less, just like how my fingers interlock, and if you're watching the video how your fingers would interlock, they do the same thing. They work together and they work off of each other. It's a little bit of like an ebb and a flow, right? And I actually saw this video the other day, and the woman, her name is Coraline, I think her name is Hazelwood is her last name. I can't remember. But she was talking about money mindset, and she was talking about one of the best things for you to do for your money mindset in your business is to understand accounting, because when you understand accounting, you understand how the flow of money works within your business. And I don't know if you've ever taken an accounting class in your finance degree, but accounting is literally like the equation is assets equals liabilities plus your equity, which means that the spending and the investments have to equal whatever value of assets you have in your business. So like it's so delicately intertwined. But of course, in the accounting world and on that side of things, that very strategic tactile side of things, they're not like, oh yeah, the energy in equals the energy out. They're not thinking that way. So like you're right, and I agree. And even though it might not necessarily be like the similarities and the differences, I think it's a very well-rounded and holistic way of looking at it, because you're right, one cannot exist without the other. They have to kind of exist synonymously, and nobody, I think, talks about the strategic side because it's not sexy. Like it's not the sexy marketing. Like there's a lot more, I don't know that sexiness is maybe the right way of saying it, but like it's not as captivating. It's just like how people talk about taxes. Taxes are so dry. Nobody wants to do their taxes. It's like tax time and everybody starts to turn into like this negative grump, right? But the number one question that I've seen in any business circle asked, what do we do when we have to work on our taxes? How much money do we have to set aside for taxes? So it begs the question, why is that not being addressed?
Yeah. And I think it's just two completely different circles of people and that they don't intersect at all. Because you have the personal finance people who are, like think Dave Ramsey and Ramit Sethi and, her first 100K. But they're not also, then you have the spiritual mindset side of them, and then they're not touching the practical. Like I remember I posted a video once talking about this, and like it did not perform well at all, and I still post it because I think it's important content, but it's not what people want to hear, right? Like the people, in generally speaking, in the spirituality side, just want to hear sometimes that they can just think a positive thought and that's all that they need to do to manifest money, and they don't want to hear anything about anything else. And sometimes there
Right.
are people on the other side who are like, woo woo nonsense, you're crazy, like get out of here, your mindset, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. It definitely exists. I see it all the time when I post, and people when they're Dave Ramsey fans, they're like diehard Dave Ramsey fans, like, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think you're right. Like, it's really hard to find that overlap, although I do think it exists. It's just it's kind of like, I'm going to talk about Taylor Swift again because she's literally like the best analogy for me this week. Like, nobody wants to, or even like, this one's a little worse. Trump. Like, nobody wants, it's like being a closet Trump voter, right? Like, nobody wants to admit that they've voted for Trump, but they would talk shit about Trump any chance that they get. It's the same, I feel like, idea in this sense where nobody wants to admit that it has to do with their mindset and their energy, but like, deep down inside, they know that, like, if they don't change the way they're going about things, then what they're going about is never going to change.
Yeah. But that's the hope,
Could
at
be.
least, that they realize that that needs to change.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is the hope. So I would like to know, just like in closing, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch with you? What do you have going on? And what do you have coming up?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is my name. It's at Victoria D'Ambrosio. I also have a podcast. It's called The Mindset Edit. So you can go follow me there. We talk mostly about money, subconscious, manifestation, all of the things. So if you want to dive into that, definitely go check that out. And yeah, that's where they can find me. And I am putting together I have some offers right now, which is one-on-one coaching and an online course, but I'm really excited because in the back end, I'm working on what I'm going to call a mindset gym, right? Because when you think about going to the gym and building a muscle, right, you know it takes time. It takes time to build the muscle. It takes time to see the results, and you don't usually go into the gym having never been there before expecting to lift 300 pounds. You know that you have to start maybe with the 10 pounds and you work your way up. And I think when it comes to your subconscious and mindset and manifestation, it works very, very similarly. Like, you have to build your manifestation muscles. And from a scientific perspective, you're literally building out new neural pathways. And the way you build out a new neural pathway is by time, repetition, and emotional intensity. So I'm going to be putting together a membership that's a mindset gym to help people strengthen their manifestation muscles and bring in more money. So that is not launched yet, but will be coming soon. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow, that sounds really cool. I always talk about how it's like, like going to the gym and like lifting a weight all the
Yeah.
time. So I love that you're doing that. What a creative offer.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because I would always say that I'm like, because people get so freaked out when they try manifestation once and then it doesn't work. They're like, oh, manifestation doesn't exist. It's not real. I'm like, do you do that with anything else? Like, have you never played a musical instrument before and you sit down at the piano and you think you can play Mozart and read sheet music? I'm like, you would never think that with any other like sport or hobby. Like, you're going to suck at first and you have to get better over time. And yet with manifestation, everyone thinks it's just going to click overnight. They are supposed to be a success, otherwise it doesn't work. And really, it's building that muscle. Like, if you've never because technically you can manifest anything at any point in time, but in reality, it's you got to build the muscle. Can you manifest $1,000 a week, and then you move to 2,000, 3,000, et cetera, et cetera. So I used to always give that example, and then recently I was like, wait a second, like, it is like a gym, so why isn't there a gym?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Oh my God,
Thank
I
you.
love it. Yeah, no problem. If you're listening, or if you're watching the video, you got to go check this out. And Victoria, you got to like keep me posted so that I could put it in the show notes for people to go to. Because if they're listening, like maybe when you've already launched it, like they need to go to the gym.
Yeah, and if it's not launched, like, come follow me. I'll be posting about it when it is, or send me a DM if you want. I'm probably going to do a beta round, like, close to people to do some testing before it's formally launched. So I just like test out all the different things I'm putting in there, the little boot camps and such. So yeah, if you're interested and you don't see anything, just shoot me a DM. They're always open. I'm happy to hear from anyone, especially podcast listeners. I love podcast listeners. Like, they're the best type of audience. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's true though, because you have like that connection and you could have that conversation and that, back and forth. So, okay, Victoria, thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for your time. And y'all go check out the Mindset Gym. Oh my God, this is fucking brilliant. Okay, all right. Thank you, Victoria, and we will hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.